Recording in progress.
Okay, good. So we're set to go. Let's start with opening Unity Hub. And our application. We'll just continue from the one which is still called day one. Doesn't matter. It's already something we made and we have prepared. So this is where we got to yesterday. If I look at the hierarchy, I can see the scene we've prepared. Maybe it might have happened that when you opened Unity, the scene didn't open automatically. If that's the case, then you should navigate through the project navigator into the scenes folder and open this sample scene folder. Sample scene called sample scene. And see what we've done yesterday. So we have this main camera. You probably remember that with the camera, we were changing the background from the original skybox to just plain solid black color. We've also played with the directional light a little bit, changing the color of the light or the temperature of the white light. You remembered how to move the objects, how to rotate them. And then we created this game object, which in fact is just an empty object, which is signified by the inspector here, where we can see that it only has a transform, because every game object has a transform, and the specific role of the object is defined by other components which we can add to that object. So this one has no other components, but it has some children in this scene hierarchy. And one of them is this sphere, and the other was the cube. And you also remember that that those objects, those representing some, let's say, physical objects, they were defined by a mesh, which defines the shape of the object, and the mesh renderer, which tells us how the mesh will be rendered. So how it will look in the final scene, what will be the visual representation of this geometrical mesh. And for us, it was a simple render with just a material which has some color. The next thing we did was to add some scripts, which somehow modified some properties, some other properties of the object. So one of them was this change color script. We can find it here in the inspector, and if we click or double click here, it will open the script, tell us what it was doing, and it greeted us, changed the color of the cube to green, and then depending on whether we pressed some key R or G, changed the color to red and green, while the greeting and the initial change color only happened once at the start. That means when we start a game, either in the editor by pushing play, or if we export the game, then it's just like when you run the game. And then this was happening in the so-called update loop. So at each rendered frame, Unity was looking whether we are pressing some key, and if we did, it initiated the appropriate action. Same thing for this move object script, which was rotating our cube. And for the rotation, we defined a variable which was storing the speed of the rotation. And in this update loop, you were rotating at each frame. We rotated the cube a little bit by this amount of degrees, and we could increase and decrease the speed again using a key. And so that's, I think, where we finished yesterday, the most important part. And like I said, this approach has a little downside, and that is that different computers with different graphics cards will have different amount of frames per second, which are displayed when you play the game. And this, then in fact, this rotation speed will depend kind of on the speed of your graphics card. So on more expensive computers, the cube will rotate faster than on less expensive ones. And usually this is not what you want. Usually you want some the speed to be connected to some real time you can measure on your watch. And in order to get that, we need to somehow incorporate the real time into the scene. And we can do it. Okay, let's create another script for that, so then you can see the comparison between the real-time speed and the frame synchronized speed. To make things simple, we can just take our blue cube and duplicate it. So you go to the scene window, right-click on the blue cube, and you select duplicate. Another option is to press Ctrl D, which also means duplicate. We will rename it. So let's say we make a yellow cube. And now you see that the cube has the same properties as the original one, and same properties also include the same transform. That means the same position and same rotation. So the cubes are actually at the exact same place. Probably we don't want that. So we just select the move tool, and with one of the cubes selected in the hierarchy inspector, we move it away a little bit. Now to give it a new material, again, let's say we just want to make it yellow. So we select the original material, the blue one, and again, Ctrl D or right click and, oh, sorry, that's the thing. So if you want to duplicate an asset, you will not see the duplicate command in the right click menu. So that's why it's good to remember Ctrl D. So I press Ctrl D, gives me blue one. Let's rename it to yellow and just change the color using the color picker here in Surface Inputs base map. So now we have the yellow material. We can select the yellow cube and grab the yellow material and put it here. Now, what else was duplicated? The change color script was duplicated. Maybe we will not be changing colors with this cube, so we just remove the component, go to the inspector and click on those three dots at the side and go remove component. And as I said, the move object script will be a different one. So we will remove, we'll remove this component as well. Again, through here, remove component. Now we duplicate the move object script, Ctrl D, select the move object script and Ctrl D again. And now we have to rename it. And because it's a script, we will have to rename the file itself and the name of the class which is stored in the file. So we right click and go rename, and let's say move object to real because we will be using the real time. And we double click it, check that we really open the move object to real file here, and rename the class to read object real. So now what will have to change? We can keep this rotation speed because it will just mean something different now. And here in this rotate component, instead of putting the rotation speed directly in, we will use a component or a function from Unity, which comes from the time library, and it's called delta time. And delta time is the amount of time that elapsed between the last frame that was rendered and the frame that is going to be rendered now. So if we want to have a uniform time, then we just take this speed, let's say rotation speed, it will be per second, and we multiply it with this amount of time that elapsed between the frames. So if the frames took longer to render, then it will rotate by a larger angle. If it took shorter time to render, it will just rotate a little bit. So rotation speed, and for those who are not programmers, multiplication in most programming languages is expressed by the star symbol. So we do rotation speed times time dot delta time. And we can keep the key codes. And now all of our scenes should rotate the cube at the same speed. I go back to Unity, it will compile the script, and I push play, enter the play mode, and you can see that this cube is rotating really fast, and this cube, it almost looks like it's not moving at all, because 1 angle per second is extremely slow, actually. Oh, no, it's not moving at all, because I forgot to move the script on the cube. So we take the script, the new script, move object real, and put it on the yellow cube. Now, I'm sorry, I'm a bit slow today because I actually didn't sleep at all, but I will manage. So now we have the move object real script here. The rotation speed is set to 1, and we can save the scene that I recommend doing from time to time, just like press Ctrl S to save the scene in case Unity dies, because that happens sometimes as well. And now we push play. And now the cube is rotating, but very slowly. And we can check this by increasing the speed. I will see the green cube is rotating crazy fast, and the yellow cube is at least moving so that we can see it. And if we want the yellow cube to move faster by default, we just change the rotation speed here from 1 to, let's say, 10, and hit play again. Now we can see it a bit better. If you compare it to someone else's computer, the rotation speed of the yellow cube should be the same, and the rotation speed of the green cube will be faster on the computer which has a better graphics card. Okay, so next thing I want to show is how we can rotate the object. And next thing I want to show is how to move the object. And I think you could have already guessed that since the rotation was done by changing something on the transform, like by calling a function called rotate on the transform, the position is also stored in the transform, so we'll somehow modify the transform again. But this time, instead of using some specific function, we will directly.
Can you start from the beginning when you made the first copy for yellow cube? Because I looking for color and then I lost your speech.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay. So
I think you was too fast for me, and I just make one copy yellow cube. Then I didn't find the where to find the color. Maybe you can show it.
Okay, so you have the new material, or
I just copy it by Control D. So I just copy the cube by Control D and
okay.
Name it yellow cube.
Okay. So yeah, I see Natalia was stuck at the same place. So you made a copy of the cube, right?
Yes.
And then you made the copy of the material.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a new material which is called yellow, but it's not yellow yet. Am I right? Or maybe can you share the screen and show us?
Yes, you can share the screen.
Yeah.
One second, because I use tablet for video and.
Okay.
One second, I need to switch to notebook.
Recording in progress.
So, okay, I will now I will share the screen. You should allow me sharing.
You should be able to share. Yeah. Now that you are turning on it.
Okay. So, yes. You have this new material. So go to the right. Okay. You need to change the material itself. So go down to assets, yes, and here on one of those materials, click on one of them. Which one is new? This is called new material, and the one before is called new material 1. So this is the new one actually. Maybe it would be better if you right click on the left one. Rename it. Yes. Rename it to something. So that I don't know, yellow material, for example. Yeah, whatever can be that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you go to the right to the inspector. Yes, and here click on the base map. Yeah, choose the color. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And
but
now
it is not connected to cube. You see,
yes,
I changed.
Now you have to connect it to the cube. And another important thing, you have to exit the play mode. You are still in the play mode. You just paused it at the top. If you make changes at the very top, those 3 buttons in the middle.
Yeah, but when I go very top,
click play again. Click play again.
Play again.
At the top in the middle.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, and no, because just pausing. Yes, that's what I needed you to do. And now you see you don't have the second cube, right? Because you
maybe I copy it in play mode.
The play mode, so the change wasn't saved. So if you want the changes to the scene to be saved, you must be out of the play mode. Yeah. So now duplicate the cube. with Control D and yes.
Yeah, I think maybe the problem was that I was in a play mode, but I didn't notice it.
Yeah. It happens. It happens actually very often. So you click the yellow cube. Now on the right side, you go down in the inspector. Yes. And sorry, up. Sorry, up.
I think I should copy
in mesh render. In mesh render, it's okay. You can move it, like yeah. And now go to mesh render of the cube.
1 second, I want to move it somewhere. Yeah. Okay. So mesh render.
An element, yeah. You see element 0. It says element 0 lit. In mesh render, just under mesh render, there's mesh render.
Yeah, okay.
And element 0 lit. So now grab the yellow material with the mouse, just grab it, yeah, and take it over the lit, over the element 0 lit.
Here.
Yeah, to the right. Yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah, now I see how it works. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I will share my screen again, and Natalia, did you also manage to make the change, or you have some different issue?
Yeah, but now I should to write the script because I didn't do it.
Yes. Okay. So the script, you duplicate the original script, so you get a smooth object script, and
I just copy it. Yes.
Yes. Duplicate it with Control D. And rename it to something without spaces. So something like I did here, to move object real, for example.
To move object.
Move object real, or like some different names, because the original name was move object, and the duplicate will be called something like move object and move object 1.
Yeah, I understand this issue with the spaces.
Yeah, just rename it so it doesn't have any spaces, something like move object real, like I did, for example. Then you also have to change the name here in the class name. And then in this transform component, you just go to the rotate part.
Class name I had move objects. Yes.
Yes. And now it has to have the same name as the file name.
Okay.
So here my file name is move object real. So the class also has to be move object real. Yeah. And now you just put times star time dot delta time.
Get transform rotate time delta time.
Yes.
Delta time
is the time that elapsed between the rendering of the last frame and the rendering of, or like the
difference of system time.
Yes, so that this will scale it to the real clock and independent of the frame rate.
Okay.
Okay, so now if you go back, it should compile it. You should see no errors here in the console, and then you take your yellow cube. You delete all the old scripts which are there because you copied the cube, so you will have this change color script and the move object script, and you don't want them on the new cube. So you remove them, and instead you add this new move object real script, or whatever name you gave to the new script. You're fine?
Yeah, works.
Okay, you got it?
Looks like yes.
Okay. The important thing, of course, is mostly that you don't have any errors in the console, because if you have any compilation errors now, then you will have compilation errors later, and it would be difficult to find out which they were. So
no, I have no errors, but my yellow cube don't move. So when I used
and did you attach the script to the yellow cube?
I think yes, maybe.
Yes. And is it really not moving, or is it just moving very slowly?
I think maybe it's
Change the rotation speed to 10, for example.
But yeah, but you see, I didn't tape what is delta time. Maybe you made it, but I didn't check what is delta time. So maybe it's
okay. Share the screen again. Show me. Share the screen again and show me the script.
Okay. Yeah, but I should have rights for should have permission for it. Okay. Okay, here is a script.
Rotation speed time times delta time. The name of the script is to move objects. To move objects. Okay. Now, if you go back to the Unity editor, please, and show me what's on the yellow cube. Yeah. Okay. Click on the yellow cube in the hierarchy, please.
Yes.
And yeah, go to the inspector on the right and scroll down.
Yeah, you see, it was upload.
Yes. So change the rotation speed to 10. Yeah, and now click play.
See.
Yeah.
Yeah, it rotates, but very slowly. Yeah, I didn't notice.
Yeah.
So it works. Thanks.
Okay. So yeah. So now instead of rotating, we will move the object. And as I said, the moving of the objects will be done in slightly different way, and that will be by modifying the position directly. And for that, you notice that the position is not a single number, it's a vector. So 3 numbers which define the position in the Cartesian coordinates, x, y, and z. And we will modify just one of those coordinates, and we will add some number to this coordinate so that the position changes in time. So for that, we will again create a new script. So I go to project and create a C# script. We'll call it, I don't know, fly away. So we have a new script called fly away. And what we wanted to do, we wanted to get the position from the transform, because the position is a property of the transform. Yes, on the transform there's position, same as if you remember, the color of the mesh renderer was then the renderer object had a property called material, and the material object had a property called color. I will show it here. So this is how we get the renderer object. This is how we access the first property called material, and the material has another property called color. So this will be something similar. So inside update, we want to do something with the component with transform. So we go to get component. Type of the component is transform. And now we will be changing its position property. So position. What will we do with that property? We need to add a number to one of the coordinates. And in Unity, this cannot be done directly. So I cannot directly access the position X coordinate and change it. I need to change the whole vector. I need to change all the three numbers at once. And of course, if I add 0 to one of those numbers, that I'm not changing it. Yeah? And so for that, I need to create a vector which out of those three numbers. And the vector has three components. There are also other vectors with like 4 components or 2 components. Those are important in Unity, but the positional vectors will have 3 components. So we will set the position to a new value. So position equals something. And because we will not change the, we want to add to the original position. The cube is somewhere, and we don't want it to appear. The cube is at, for example, in my case, it's at 0.0, minus 2.25, and minus 0.78. And I don't want to put it directly to position 0. I want to slowly add a number to the position so that it grows and the cube moves in one direction. So I want to start with the actual position. So I select and copy this whole thing, this get component transform position. And I want to add a vector of 3 components, a vector which doesn't exist yet because I haven't declared it yet. So I have to create a new one, a new vector. So I create a new object of type vector. And a vector with three components is called vector3. So if I want to add and modify vectors, I do it with creating and adding vector3s, for example, in this case. And in the regular brackets, we put the 3 components. So let's say we want to move the vector not by 1, because now our scale is in meters, and I think the cube has a size of 1 meter. So if I put 1 here, then the cube will skip very, very fast. So let's say we just want to move it by 0.1 meters in the direction X. And in the other directions, we do not move it at all. So we put zeros here. And a semicolon at the end of the line. Now, if I save this and go back to Unity, I will encounter an error. And this is a thing that you just have to remember. And it's because of the way the C# programming language is made. It has a distinct data types for decimal numbers. And the default decimal number type is called a double in C#. It's the default one in C# is the double type, but the default type used in Unity is a different one, and it's called float. And for some reason, C# cannot automatically convert between a double and a float. And since C# uses double as a default, if you want to use it in a Unity object which expects a float as a default, you have to explicitly express that you are not using a double, but a float. And this is expressed by putting a small letter F at the end of the number. So decimal numbers in general, if you're working with decimal numbers in Unity, remember you need to put F at the end of the number. Sorry about that. If you don't like it, the same way as I don't like it, you should write. You should write a message to Microsoft. Maybe, maybe someone will hear your cries.
Why can't you make everything double?
Because for example the transforms and all the default components are in floats. So if you write your code in doubles, then you will still have to convert everything to floats when you want to interact with the original scene.
So all basic elements, well, most basic elements are declared in float, and yet C# by default uses double.
Yes, yes,
yeah,
exactly,
amazing.
exactly. That's exactly the thing. So because of this non-existent automatic conversion, we just need to remember that for most of the decimal numbers, we need to write F at the end of the number without space. That's 0.1 F. So now if I go back to my scene, sorry, I need to save the file. If I save the file and go back to Unity, it will recompile. And yes, now I have no errors in the console. So I select my yellow cube and add a new component to this cube. And this time, the component I will be adding, again, you can drag and drop, or you can click on Add Component, find Script, and under Script, you should find your new script. I called it flyaway. So we add the flyaway script. Now, if I press play, the cube will fly away. Why is it just flying away? I can move the camera a little bit so that we have a better view of the whole scene. And so let's move and rotate the camera, save the scene so that it remembers where I've put the camera, and play it again. Yeah. So if I select the yellow cube, we can now watch what happens here with the transform. The position was 0.7 and it quickly increases 50, 60 until we cannot see the cube anymore.
Okay, you see, when I type add component at my yellow cube, I don't see this new script fly away. I see all other scripts, but I don't see fly away.
Did it compile without errors?
It's write me clean up bleed. I don't know what does that mean.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. If it's not red and doesn't say error, then it should be okay. And do you see the script in the list of assets?
In the list of assets, I see it, but when I type yellow cube and type add component, I don't see.
Then just try to grab it and drop it here.
Drop it on inspector, yes.
Like this. Yeah.
Okay, 1 second. Don't work. I can show the screen.
Got it?
No, it don't work. I can show you the screen. Maybe I think all this very small.
Show me.
I think all very small errors, but I will be stuck here if I will not solve it.
So
you see yellow cube.
Yes, yellow cube. Yes.
Yellow cube, but
yellow
I can
cube. Go down. Yeah.
I don't know what is it. Send render pipeline.
No. Don't touch this. I don't even think it should be there, but and go down, click add a component, yes.
A component script, and I don't see it.
Okay, it's not there. So click on the script, on the Flyway script in assets. Yeah. And what happens? Click on yellow cube first. Yellow
Yeah.
cube. Yeah.
Okay.
And scroll down in the inspector. And now grab the Flyway script and drop it on the add component button. Yes. Yes.
Can't add the script. Component Flyway because the script class cannot found. Make sure.
Okay,
Maybe I didn't rename it.
Open the script.
Maybe
Yeah, because your class is called new behavior script. It has to be called Flyway.
Where should I change it here? New class,
Yes. Here, exactly. Flyway, yeah.
So as I told, this is very, very
Save
small.
this. Save this.
I know it will work. It will work now.
And now you should be able to put it on the yellow cube.
Yeah, I think yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So now we will add another interaction with time, and this time to make. So I mean, we could make the cube fly away completely, but maybe that's not that useful. Maybe we want the cube to move back and forth in some oscillatory manner. So how do we create an oscillatory motion?
With the power of trigonometry.
Exactly. So I think most of you will remember trigonometric functions from school. Those who don't remember don't really need to remember. The important thing is there's something called a sine function, sinus and cosine function, sin, maybe you probably remember somehow. And those functions, if you give them a number, an increasing number from 0 to infinity, they will always return a number between between -1 and 1. So anything I put inside, I always get something which is between -1 and 1. And I can use this in combination with the total time that elapsed since the start of the game. And yeah, I can use this with the total time with elapsed since the start of the game. I just put this total time into the sine function, and it will give me something between -1 and 1, and it will change smoothly between -1 and 1. And I can add this -1 or 1. If I add this number to my position, then if I'm adding +1, then it's moving to the right. And if I'm adding -1, I'm in fact subtracting 1, it will move to the left. And if I remember the original position where the cube was, if I store this value somewhere and always add to the original position, then when it's +1, then it's, let's say, 1 meter to the right. When it's -1, it's 1 meter to the left. And when it's 0, it's at the original position. And with the time, this oscillates between -1 and +1 and goes like this. So let's do it. Let's just modify the flyaway script straight away. And yeah. Okay, just give me a second. Yeah, that's what I want. So, as I said, first we will need to store the original position. Now, I've already told you that the position is a vector. It's an object which has a type called vector. And you might remember how we stored a number before. We were storing this this speed we wanted for the rotation. So in a similar manner, we can, for example, put a number, a float called frequency, which will control the speed of the oscillation later. And now let's just put 1 in there, and we will change it later. And the same way as we're storing the number so that we can recall it later, we will store a vector. So we create a public vector called, let's say, original position. And we don't know yet what to put here. So it has to be vector 3. That's the correct type. So public vector 3, original position. And we don't know yet what to store, because for that, we first need to start the game. So let's just finish the line with the semicolon. Don't forget the semicolons at the ends of the lines. And this is just, let's say, a box, and we will, into the box, somewhere in the memory of the computer, we will store what was the original position of our cube when we started the program. So, as I said, we will do it when we start the program. So in the start function, we will set the original position to a value that we get from the transform component, and it will be the position attribute of our transform object. So we do get component. We're again taking the transform. The transform of our object, and we want to know its position. So now, when we start our program, the value in the variable original position will be set to the initial position of our cube. We can check this in the debug log. So we can also put debug log. And let's say we want to see what is the, so this is, here we can write any text we want. So original position was, and now we want to print the position, print the whole vector. This is fortunately very easily done. Connecting a text to some other text or some other information is done using the plus sign. So if we do debug log, original position was plus the original position, and again finish with the semicolon. Now, if I save the script and go back to Unity, it should again compile without any errors. I can go to the console, see that, okay, there's just this cleanup blade, but no errors. Yeah. Here the error count, that's this last number, also says 0. And I push play. And here the object told me that the original position was some number. 3 numbers, actually. The whole vector is here. So let's go back to the script and make the position oscillate according to our sine function. In order not to write too long lines, because here I could put like sine of something, 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 and the line would be very, very long. It's sometimes easier to create intermediate variables. As I said, you can think of a variable as a place, as a storage place, as like a box. And in that box, I can put numbers, I can put vectors, I can put images or whatever. And these boxes exist for the whole object or for the whole class, but also I can define temporary boxes which only exist within a specific function. So for example, here for the update function, I create a box. I don't know its type beforehand, but it can be automatically reduced. So I create a box with the command var, das ist, and I call it difference, for example, and that will be the difference between our current position and the original position, and that will be using the sign function. So the difference, I would like to write something like this, a sign of the total time that elapsed since the start of the simulation. So we've seen the delta time, which was the time between individual frames. Now the time from the start of the simulation is called real time since startup. So we would call it on time dot real time, capital S, since, and capital S again, startup. Now this will not work, but it's all the sign from. Yeah, that's the thing. So this will not work as it is, because the sign is actually defined in a package of a specific mathematical package. And so mathematical package could have been called math, but it's not math because we're in C# and we're working with floats. Then it's math for floats, so it's called mathf. So our difference will be mathf.sign. So this will call the sign function, which can take a float number as an input, and as an input to the sign function, we put the real time. Yeah. And just that we know what the thing is doing, we can again bring into the debug log. And into the debug log, we put the time. So time plus, we copy paste this time.real time since startup. Then we want to see the distance difference. So distance difference plus, and the name of the variable was just difference. So at each frame, we will see what was the real time since startup and how this was, what is the result of the sign function, well, how this was modified to give us the difference that we want. Again, we end the line with the semicolon. And we change this call. So now, instead of adding 0.1 to the current position, we will add something to the original position. Why? Because if I'm adding to the current position, I'm actually moving, the sign function, it will not move from the beginning, but it will move, and then the difference will be added to the already moved position. So it would move too fast away, and it would never go to minus because it would go somewhere far away and then just go back. So so what we want to do is to set our current position, the actual position at this time point in this frame, to be the original position that we've stored plus the new vector. Yes, that's something we still want. New vector 3. But now the first component of the vector is the difference we have calculated on the previous line. So difference. the second component will be 0, and the third component will be also 0. And you notice that the zeros don't need the F at the end. Zeros are the same in all types for some reason. And we end the line with the semicolon, and we can save the script and hope everything worked. So just let me know if someone hasn't completed writing the script so that you won't fall behind too much. Everyone set?
I need slightly more time.
Yeah. I'll just keep it on the screen so you can finish it, and let me know when you're finished.
It's dodgy. It's like it's moving. It's
Not really smooth.
mm-hmm. Oh, no. You see, I rotated the object and now it's moving smoothly.
Yeah.
But when I start, for example, like, let me set the speed to 1. Oh, no. It was like a rendering bug or something.
Yeah. So sometimes when you start the play mode, mm-hmm. when you click play, there's still some it's not compilation, but it's preparing the resources, and that's running in the background. Mm-hmm. So especially if you just quickly go back to Unity, it recompiles your scripts, but it's still doing something in the background, but you already clicked the play button, mm-hmm. then for a couple of seconds it will stutter, like... and yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's and especially here when we're dealing with time, this can get dodgy like this. Okay, not for Natalia it works.
I have some bug and I don't know what is it. I think it's
okay,
some.
Show me.
So you see the script, maybe it's some...
Yeah. Script, and
this is bug.
So okay, that's a nice one. So here you can see, if you open Unity again, the console, and read the bug, it actually tells you what is the problem. So at some point it tells you which file, assets flyaway.cs, and then there's 2 numbers, and those 2 numbers are the line where the error appears and the column, or like the
so 22 and 9,
and it tells you that it expected a semicolon, so you're missing a semicolon somewhere. And where are you missing the semicolon?
Yeah, that's it. 22 and 92, it should be...
Okay. So you have a surplus closing bracket.
Yeah,
so
okay. Yeah.
Debug log time plus real time since startup, and this closing bracket after time. No. Delete those. You just need one set of brackets over the whole thing. So the opening brackets would be just one. Yes. Delete. Yeah. Just one here.
Okay.
And delete this. Yes. Exactly this one. Now save it.
And now, now it should work.
Yeah.
So it's okay. Thank you.
Now, if you run it, it should move.
Yeah, I see it. It works sinusoidally, and here I see
and time. In the debug log, yes, exactly. You see the time and the distance difference calculated from the time. Yeah.
And it creates one message. Yeah, for each step, it creates one message. So I will have.
Yes, there's a lot of messages in the log, because yes, exactly.
Yeah,
because it's being done on each frame. Okay. So Okay, so we finished the first half, and we still have 20 minutes left, so we could proceed to the next part. How do you make it move further away? Now okay, that's thank you. Thank you. Great question. So in the remaining bit of time, I will show you a little bit more about how to use variables in Unity, and we will do it on this fine example of having the object move further away or oscillating faster or slower. So we've already set up this frequency here. So, but we didn't do anything with it. What we will do with it is that we will multiply this argument to the sine function with the frequency, because that's what it will do. It will increase or decrease the frequency. I will not explain why does that happen, because if you don't remember, I recommend opening some high school books and it should be all there. So first we will do frequency times the real time since startup. Now that, like I said, that's frequency, so this will change how fast our thing oscillates. And we can give it a try. Of course, multiplying by 1 doesn't do anything. So we want to multiply by some different number, but we don't need to do that in the script. We can do that in the scene. So we found a cube that had the flyaway script attached, and we modify the frequency. So let's say if we input 5, then the higher the frequency, the faster the oscillation. See? And again, if I'm in the play mode, I can also modify the frequency in the inspector and see the result immediately. But if I stop the play mode, it resets back to the number that was there before I hit play. Now, you see another thing which happens here in the inspector, and it doesn't really matter, but it doesn't look good. You see that the original position is mentioned here, and I could put some nonsense number in there, and that number will not matter at all, because when I push start, the script reads the real original position from here and saves it here. So while this part is not hurtful in any way, it's also not helpful, and it's confusing. So can we hide it? Because this is something the user doesn't need, shouldn't need, but the script needs it internally. And yes, we can hide it. And that's what this keyword public is doing. So those properties, those variables which are declared public, will be visible here in the inspector window. If we need the variables, but we don't want to show them in the inspector window, we declare them as private. So that's the first change. Let's change the position to private. Save the script. Go back to Unity. It will recompile. And when you go to our movable cube, you see that the frequency is still there, but this original position is hidden. But the variable still exists inside the script, and we can check this by running the script, looking at the console. Oh, sorry, we didn't print it out. We won't see anything in the console because there's too much information. So I will show another thing. If you want to keep this line, this debug line, because you might use it later, but now you don't want it to be called, you can comment it out. Commenting out means that whatever is commented out will not be executed. So with this, you can say, for example, if you're doing something, you're trying different things, and you don't want to delete those you don't want to use because you might want to use them later, then you comment them with a double slash. So I put double forward slash at the beginning of the line, and then the whole rest of the line is a comment. That means that it's not being used at all. So now if I save it, my debug log will not repeat these messages because this is just an inactive line of code. And so let's press play, and you see that what I'm getting is just the information about the original position, and that's what I wanted to see. Now, we can add another variable, which will change the distance to which the cube moves, and how to change that. So here I'm adding a number to this original position, and now this number, the difference, it's between -1 and 1. So the maximum amount I can move the cube with this is 1 meter to the left or to the right. So if I want to go higher, I have to multiply this number with some distance. And since we are talking about goniometric functions, this number, of course, has a special name. It's called amplitude. So we add another public float, call it amplitude, and set it to, I don't know, 2.0 initially. And we can either multiply by the amplitude here, or we can already multiply by the amplitude in the difference. That makes more sense, I would say. So we put amplitude, and yes. So this is like the general usage of a trigonometric function: amplitude times the function and frequency times time. The physicists here know this in their sleep, and the others the others will remember the horrible ordeal they had to go through in high school, where they just couldn't couldn't remember all those functions while they're here. So this is one cool usage of trigonometric functions actually. So let's save this, go back to our scene, and we see that the yellow cube has now the amplitude set to 2. You play the scene, and the cube moves further away. Again, I can change to 10, and it's like really, I can change to, if I put 0, then it's not moving at all. I can just put 0.1. That's moving a little. Increase the frequency to 10 and play with it. Again, if I stop the scene, everything I've changed will reset to the state in which it was before I run the play mode. Okay, so in the next part, we will add the interactivity, we will add the first-person controller, and we will have the objects interact with our player object. And if we have still some time at the end, we will go to the beginning of the visual effects. If not, I will just ask you about your plans to bring your own data, or your plans to do the 3D scans with the app, maybe help you with the app, and so that you're prepared for tomorrow, because tomorrow we will start with this like advanced part. So this just covers the basics, more or less, the basics of Unity. So now you should be able to do, I mean, you can figure out for yourself, like change some different things in color, I don't know, change sizes, whatever, and make scenes interacting on the buttons you press on the keyboard. That's what you already know now.
Can you take a look, because I feel like I have about
Sure.
I don't know. I have a script. I was trying to change these other numbers, like just the starting value. And here it doesn't change.
Thank you.
And when I start it and I stop it, like it's not in play mode. Like I try to like restart it, and it's still like stuck on those numbers.
That's a good one, and thank you for that, because I of course had it somewhere in the notes. No, I had it somewhere in the notes. I think like here on the side.
Okay.
That I should show one thing. So now I have this frequency set to 5 and amplitude set to 2, and it's set here in the hierarchy. Yeah, and those are the same numbers that were okay, not the same. Okay, I've changed the frequency to 1, but let's say I remove the script now and edit again. So I remove this component and edit the component again. So I put the flyaway script here. Now the frequency is set to 1, the amplitude is set to 2, because those are the defaults set here. Now if I change the frequency to 10, for example, and amplitude to 20, save the script, go back to Unity. Nothing changed here. If I put the script on some other object, so let's say I take this red sphere and add the flyaway script here, then I have 10 and 20. The reason is that whatever is here in assets, those are like some basic files. Those are actual, the files stored in the computer, and they have their defaults, and those defaults can be changed in the scene in the hierarchy window. So, for example, if I have an object here, I can also like save a cube. I can make a cube with a core, etc., and then save it and put it here into assets so that I can reuse it later. But I can also change its values here, and then the values are only stored in here. But it's important because, for example, I want the sphere to move fast and far away, and I want the cube not to move too much. So this is how I set it up. If I then decide I want to change the defaults, what should change here? Should both of them change, or just the one that had the defaults? And were the defaults there before they were the defaults, or because I really want the frequency to be 1 in this case? So Unity takes the way of whatever you said here while you're saving the scene will be said here in that way, even if you change the default value in the script later.
But then if you edit the script not just by adding like changing these values, but also you add some other stuff, it will recompile and then it overwrites, I think. I don't think that it's smart enough to...
No, I think it's smart enough to remember the original ones.
Okay. I can imagine so many potential problems that it will write out of it.
Yes. Yes. But it's good that you asked, because it can surprise you.
It is. But yeah, it
so
right. Okay.
So here the original values are stored, and the new value has 10.
Was imported in the Unity as well. At the moment it was imported, it is stored inside Unity.
At the moment it was added to the scene.
Yes.
And of course, if I change the name of the variable, then it will disappear and it will get the original value. But that also can be a nasty surprise if you just decide that some value should have a better name, and you already had those values set to some sensible values in the scene, then they will be all reset, and you have to set them again. Okay, so I would say let's make a 10-minute break. We continue at 11:35, and we will continue with adding the first-person controller and interaction.
Nice.
About the reset of the values, so the only way to solve this, like the sensible values you set by moving something in the scene in the play mode. Yes.
Yep.
The only way is to manually copy them into clipboard.
Yeah. There was a plugin that was supposed to
extract them.
Kind of like a plugin which would save the values changed in the play mode. But like I said, some of the values should not be saved because some of them are, for example, controlled by some script. So for example, the position of our moving cube. So let's say I'm doing something like this and I want to change some speed. So I change the speed, and then if everything would be saved, also the position would be saved in the changed state, not in the original state. So again, it's in this case, it's very difficult to say what should be saved and what should not be saved. Yeah. But I'll show you a little trick for the transform, and I will probably show it later also, because like, for example, moving objects in play mode is a very common task, because very often, you're just doing those changes to size and position according to what happens in the scene. So if you want to copy the whole component, then here you'll find a copy menu with position, rotation, or the whole component. That it's all three: position, rotation, and scale. And you can take that in the play mode. So everything is moving here. So I take the whole game object group, and I move it to 0. Okay. Can I do it like this? Okay, I'll just add a new.
It's like if it has a
new something. I have a new sphere here, and now I move it. I do copy component, stop the play mode, the sphere goes back, and I paste the component values. But again, it will just help you with one object, because you only have one component stored in the clipboard.
One can try even to write a plugin himself, like a script which will do this.
Yes, I mean,
if there is a menu option, then there is some interface which does it. So maybe. Yeah.
I mean, yes, there are ways to do it. There are plugins for that, but in the end, I'm still not using any of them. So I just got used to the fact that if I'm modifying something in the play mode, I just modify one thing, stop the play mode, save it, do it again. Okay, I'll have something to drink, and then we can continue.
That's yeah.
Okay, we will be back shortly in a couple of minutes. So, like I said, let's do a little promo for Czech Republic here before everyone returns to the classroom. The T-shirt I'm wearing now is from the organization called Dárek pro Putina, which means a gift for Putin. And their website, for some reason, has a completely different name. But this is
sharing the screen.
Oh, I'm not sharing the screen. Sorry. Share the screen. Sharing the screen. Sharing the screen. Sharing. Yeah. Yeah. So this is what they were doing, and they started working at the very beginning, or they got this idea at the very beginning of the after the invasion. I think they started operating in early May, if I'm not mistaken. And you can see they already crowdfunded 500 million Czech crowns. So that's something like, I don't know, 0.8 billion hryvnias, maybe. And it's completely crowdfunded. So like regular people and companies in Czech Republic sent money to so this is the newest one, a demining system called Božena. This is an ongoing project, crowdfunding drones, and yes, this is for like special military IFACs, the first aid kits. Thank you. And this is the latest one. It's been finished, so it's probably being delivered, or maybe it's already delivered. Nobody knows. And that's the MLRS type RM70 with 365 rockets. The price was, yeah, let's say 80 million hryvnias. And the first one, this was the PPO, the mobile PPO called Victor. That's an older campaign, and they bought 15 of them in the end. Those.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe not after the night like today. Not with the best sounds.
Yeah, so those are I would say definitely already up in action, and this was the first or one their second campaign, but the biggest one, and that was the crowdfunding for a tank, for a T-72 with some Czech modifications. And I don't know if that was finished, I think probably at the beginning of summer, because that's how I got this T-shirt. That's come from there. That was this very campaign. So hopefully this tank is somewhere operating and helping.
I hope this night you noticed how useful these PPO systems.
Oh yes. Last night I realized that yes, those are absolutely crucial.
As for me, it was the scariest night among all these bombardments, and I think I hear the Kinjal missile over my house.
Okay. So,
when was it? Do you remember?
Do you remember when was it?
It was at 3 p.m. It's 3 a.m. At 3 at the night.
Yeah.
Because I now sound of Shahid drone. I now sound of Caliber, and it was absolutely new sound. I think it was supersonic missile.
Used to it so much that I didn't wait. My neighbors were kind of
okay. No, like I said, like first I got woken up by the alarm I had on the phone by the app, and I couldn't sleep afterwards. I think my brother just like fall asleep right after the sound ended, and like in less than an hour, I mean I was already half asleep, and then I've heard the explosions and seen them from the hotel window, and it was really scary. So I really cannot imagine how it is if you live through this like almost every day for such a long time. And
yeah, it's almost every night since the end of April.
Yeah.
I went to artillery sounds of artillery shells for the first weeks of the war when they were near Kyiv.
Okay.
So it's like it's kind of today. It's not as much of a shock as it was.
Still sounds horrible. Like as I wrote on Twitter this early morning, the only thing that came to my mind is that Russia is a terrorist state, and this has to end as soon as possible.
But now you can say at home that you survived the most intensive attack on Kiev. So officially, Klitschko and other guys told that it was the most intense attack. It means that it was the highest number of rockets in the short period of time, like
yes,
10.
The highest rocket density. Yeah.
Rocket density.
Yeah, well, I mean, still all of them were shut down. So
all of them, yes.
I think all of them, right? Yeah. Including those 6 Kinjals.
Yeah, they told before that these Kinjals can be targeted, but we see that.
Yeah, so it's like almost anything Russia says. In the end, it turns out to be a total lie. Okay, let's continue with the workshop. We have the scene set up, and our things are moving. They can change colors, they can change speed, and now we would like to make it more like a traditional first-player game. And for that, we will need to add a so-called first-player controller. Now, like I said, like I pre-announced yesterday, yes, you can build your own first-player controller from scratch. It's not easy, and there's no reason to do it because someone probably did it before and did a better job than we could. And in this case, this someone were Unity Technologies, the developers of Unity itself. Now, where do we find this controller? It's nowhere here. We have to import it as a new package. And that brings me to the topic of Unity packages. As you've seen here in the project, we have one folder called assets and also another folder called packages. And there's a lot of stuff in here. You remember the rendering pipeline, maybe there's some version control, test frameworks, a lot of stuff. How to get something new in here? For that, Unity uses its own package manager, which allows you to import packages from so-called Unity Asset Store. Unity Asset Store is like an app store, but for Unity packages. And the way to get there is to click on Window and either Package Manager or Asset Store. Package Manager is for packages that you've already added through the Asset Store. And since we haven't added any packages through the Asset Store yet, let's go to the Asset Store. We click the Asset Store and it should open the Asset Store in the browser. So you should have the browser open with the Asset Store. Just check that you're logged in with your Unity account, because you will find the asset in the browser and then you will have to edit in Unity. And the asset we're looking for is called, I think, standard Unity assets. Starter assets. Starter assets, okay. So let's look for starter assets. Yes. And we're looking for this one, which is called Starter Assets First Person Character Controller. This is what it looks like. If I open it, I get Starter Assets First Person Character Controller. I click on Add to my assets, accept the terms and conditions. It says Add it to my assets. Now I can open it in Unity, either through this link or just like go back to Unity. If I use the link in the browser, it should take me directly to Package Manager. In case I didn't click the link in browser, I just edit the assets, maybe edit some other, like whatever. I don't have this, but I already edit the thing to my assets. Then I need to open the Package Manager in Unity. So I would go to Window and Package Manager. And in the Package Manager, one of the important buttons is this second button, which says Packages, My Assets. And because there's different sources for the packages, you can get some default packages from the Unity registry. You can see which packages are already in your project, which are active and installed. And here you can get see all the packages you have added through the Unity Asset Store. So let's choose this First Person Character Controller, download it, wait for it to download, then import it. So we click import and things will start happening. This Unity package has Package Manager dependencies. Okay, install or upgrade. So it will download all the packages that are needed in order to run this First Person Character Controller package. This will take some time, hopefully not too much.
I see that it costs like $9.99 First Person Character Controller.
No. This one should be free. So
I have modular.
Look for starter assets. Okay, look for starter assets First Person Character Controller. You can like write the whole thing in here. Starter assets First Person Character Controller.
Okay.
And check that it's this starter assets First Person Character Controller URP made by Unity Technologies.
I added link to
I see. Yeah, okay.
Perfect.
I found.
Should be free.
Yeah, it's free. And
yeah.
I thought if I should pay $9.99, so okay.
No. So after it imported the assets, it will tell you that this project is using some new input system package and that you need to restart the editor to enable it. So click yes, the editor will restart and it will start re-importing, and it's like this typical Unity waiting procedure. So try to get there, and meanwhile, just look, you find. You find it well? Importing, yes, importing.
I'm not fine.
Do we save the changes to the scene?
Yeah. So save the changes to the scene if you had any changes. Refreshing assets. Oh yeah, classic error refreshing assets. If you see the error refreshing assets, then just click reload. Okay, and you're back in the package manager, and even if you said you want to import something, it didn't really import. And you actually have to click the import button once more. It will again tell you that the package has dependencies, so install them. And finally, you're greeted with the import window, which lists all the assets which are part of this package. And we will just import everything. But later, if you already know the package, maybe you don't want to import everything and you just import the parts you're interested in. But now let's import everything. So we'll again wait for some downloads, recompilations, and everything. And in the end, if everything went right, then here in the project tab, we should see starter assets folder. So let me know when you see the starter assets folder in your project, and then we can continue. Yeah, it takes a lot of clicking, a lot of clicking on the same button.
Well, what should one do? What should one do?
Okay. Yeah, I cannot show it again because I already imported the package, but you should still see the package manager window. You already restarted Unity, or like Unity already restarted because of importing the package?
Again. I added this asset set
yes,
in my Unity account. Yes. Then I cannot do this.
Okay, so go back to the Unity editor.
Okay.
If you've added the asset to your Unity account through the browser, then you can go back to the Unity editor, then go to Window and Package Manager.
Yes.
And in Package Manager, in My Assets, like you find Packages, My Assets, and maybe you need to click Reload as well, and you should see the starter assets, and then you click Import, or first you click Download, then you click Import, then Unity will restart once or maybe twice, and then you click Import again, and in the end, you should get the starter asset folder right here. Yes.
I click download and then I click import. Yeah.
Yes, download, import. But it will restart meanwhile. And, yeah. So I will just meanwhile show you what's in there, and then hopefully after I finish with the showing.
Sorry, I probably have an issue with this.
Again? Can you repeat once more, please?
Yeah, I believe I have an issue because after I have imported it for the first time and the Unity was restarted, but then I go to the package manager again. But in my assets there is no assets, and after like reloading, it's still no assets. So it's
okay. Yeah. Can you share the screen?
Yes, of course. 1 second.
Yeah, let's have a look.
So can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is like
no. Wait a second. It says started screen sharing and.
Okay. And I have some freeze actually. So freeze of everything. Okay.
I still don't see the screen.
Probably I'll have to.
Yeah. Okay. It's in.
You can see it, yeah.
So okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So but it got you to the browser or not?
Yeah. I was in the browser. I downloaded.
Yeah. Okay.
Imported. Restarted.
Yeah, I see it. So if you close this window, and here it says the asset store has moved. So scroll down.
Yeah.
And go to search online.
But I was there.
You already did that, yeah?
Yes, okay. And like I had this
and so here just to check it, if you can click on
one sec.
Yeah,
this one,
here. Yeah. Add to my assets, okay.
Open Unity. I was through it already, and it was like the whole process was. And I did this.
Yes.
And I did this and import. And then it was like restart. But after the restart, nothing appeared.
Yes, yeah. I mean, like sometimes these things happen, and very often you just like do the whole thing again. Because, for example,
that's a very
for many of us, we haven't. No, it's okay. I mean, like, just get kind of used to it, because working with Unity is very often exactly like this. So now just check if
it is there.
Yes, it's there. Not in packages, it's in starter assets. Yeah. I mean, it's something in packages too, but we will explore from this part.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, you're welcome. And
yeah, I also don't see the starter assets after this procedure, so I will try again to do it.
And you got it in after like trying the second import?
I downloaded and then import, and then press import.
Yeah, and you see it already?
No, then I restarted it and it's still.
Yeah. So just restart it and try to edit again, and it should get there. I mean, meanwhile, I will show what's in there, and if you still not there at the end, we'll take a look. I mean, like, you trying to import it again right now, yes?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Okay, then keep trying.
Yeah, now I see it. From the second time, it.
Perfect. Yeah. That's, like I said, that's completely normal in the Unity world. So if you already have the starter assets here, you can open the starter assets folder, and you will find the part called first person controller. And in first person controller, there's another folder called scenes. And in the scenes folder, there's a scene called playground. There's also a folder called playground. We're not interested in that, but we will open the scene called playground. And it should show you something like this. This is a demonstration scene for the first person controller. And you can move around the scene a little bit, and you probably understood that this is the first person. This is your player. This is what he sees. Now the camera is somehow attached to the player and will move together with the player. We can give it a try. If we now press play, then then click in the window here. I really recommend clicking inside, because otherwise the mouse is kind of wonky. And then you can use the arrow keys or the A, S, D, and W keys to move around, and the mouse to look around. Even you can even use the space to jump. And now, in order to exit this, you need to click on this play button again, but the mouse is being held by the game scene, so you can release the mouse by pressing escape. You press escape, you get the mouse back, and you start the scene. So now we don't want all this stuff. We just want the parts that make up the player, and that's the main camera, the player follow camera, and the player capsule. So I select these three with Control or Shift, and you need to select all three and copy all three at the same time because they're interlinked. So you select those three, and with the right click, you go copy. Then you go back to your original scene that was in assets under scene, and it's probably still called sample scene. You don't need to save this playground scene. It's better not to save it actually and keep it the way it was. And here I paste this player object into the sample scene. Now don't hit run just yet. Just get the objects there. So you notice that this player object appeared. Now here in my case, it's facing some nonsense. And also with the player, we also got a main camera here, but we already have a main camera here. And if I click one of them, you can see that they see different things. So this main camera, the original one, has this black background and is facing the objects. This camera is not facing the objects and has the skybox. Now you cannot really have two main cameras at the same time. So we can disable one, but we will not delete it because we might need it later, and it can be useful to use a static camera and not have the active player there all the time. So we just disable it here in the inspector. We select the old camera we had and disable it by clicking the checkbox here. And it should be grayed out in the list then. So now you only have one main camera. That's a good thing. And we can either move the player at the beginning, but again, this time it can lead to some issues. So I would recommend, since our scene is simple, to select the game object group we had and move this game object group instead, and move it so that it can be seen in the viewport of the
sorry for interrupting. Where to disable the main camera?
Well, you disable the old main camera.
I mean, where to? I haven't yet. I'm just looking for the right. Oh, okay. So
you go to main camera. Click the main camera.
Which thing to click? Okay, just remove this. Like, okay, thank you very much.
And just remove the checkbox here.
Okay, thank you.
That's
I don't see in the hierarchy. I can see only playground, but I don't see my previous project.
Oh, you have to go to. Okay, I will save the scene because I made some modifications. You need to go to assets.
Mm-hmm.
Because you were like here in the first person control assets. Yeah, so we go to assets and scenes, and there should be this one scene called sample scene. That's the original one we were working on. Yeah. Okay. So you paste the player objects in there. So everyone has it?
Yeah, I just cannot see it.
Yeah, I have it.
You cannot see the objects?
When I'm in the first person mode and I'm walking around, I don't see any of these cubes that I have.
If you hit play, you already hit. I didn't tell you to hit play. But if you stop it, you see them. If yes or no? Do you see them if you stop it? Yeah, okay, quickly. So, because watch closely. What happens now if I hit play?
Gravity.
Gravity. I fall down. Because the player has interaction with physics and he has nothing to walk on. He's just falling down indefinitely. That's what happened to you. That's why you're not seeing anything. So we need to put some platform under our player so he doesn't fall down. And for that, we will add another object, a plane. So from 3D objects, we select a plane, and it will add a plane to our scene. Of course, we need to check if the plane is actually underneath our player, which in my case you can see is not. So I need to grab the plane and again, I can use these quick orientation buttons to put the plane in the correct position. Somehow under the player. He can fall a little bit, doesn't matter. And now the plane, if I hit play now, the plane will hold my player as long as I stay on the plane, of course. If I walk too far, I'm falling again. So maybe we don't want to fall, maybe we want to have a lot of space to explore, so we select the plane and get the scale tool and scale the plane using those handles so that it's large enough to cover the whole play space we want to use. Also, now my objects are under the plane. I cannot see them. But this doesn't matter, because maybe I don't need to see the plane at all. Maybe I can just make it transparent. So now I have the plane and the player on top of the plane. I just want to hide the plane and have the player like move in some abstract space which has no such thing. And so I can keep the plane with all its physical properties, but just turn out the renderer. So the plane will do everything a plane does, but it's not being rendered. It's invisible. It's visible in the editor, but here in the play window, if I hit play, you see that it's just not there. So how does this work actually internally? You see that, okay, I disabled the mesh renderer. There's another thing which has something to do with the mesh, and it's called the mesh collider. And the collider is another property of an object which tells you whether the object can collide with another object or not. And a collision is really like a collision in physical space. So things that collide cannot cross through one another. So here we have a collider on the plane, on the even invisible plane now. And if you open the player capsule, and under the player capsule, you see the object called capsule, you see that it has something called a capsule collider. So those two collide together and they will not cross each other. And let's look at our original objects, do they have colliders as well? And you can see if we open one of our cubes, it still has some collider. There's this box collider. Yeah. So if I hit the cube, I shouldn't be able to pass through. Now, because we've already moved our cubes a lot and etc., maybe let's create another cube, not in the game object group, but just plain here in the and I create a new cube. I move it somewhere closer to my player. Maybe just for a while, I return the mesh render on the plane. So I click on the plane, and the mesh render, so I can see where the plane is. And so that the cube is actually visible, make sure that the cube is visible. Put it like here. And now if I hit play, if I walk to the cube, I cannot go through. The cube will stop me. Actually, this rotating cube will stop me as well. And if I manage to get hit by the and it actually put me so far away that I'm falling down again. So colliders. And colliders have another usage. And that's when a collider can be actually changed to something called a trigger. So one thing first, I have this cube. The cube has a collider. I can remove the collider, and I think you can already guess what will happen. If I remove the collider, I can just walk through the cube as if it were not there. Yeah. Again, I can do this in play mode, change it. Now I'm hitting the cube. Now I'm going through the cube. So there's this other, so I activate the collider again. So with the collider active, there's this other way to use a collider. A collider is basically another geometry, which is invisible, but which internally tells you the boundaries of the object for the purposes of collisions. And I can change it to something called a trigger. So, and a trigger is a collider, but you can walk through the collider. But at the moment you walk into the collider, it will emit a signal, and you can catch this signal and use it to do some interaction. So I will change the collider to trigger by pushing by checking this is trigger property. And we need to do something on the trigger. So again, we will write a script that is working with the trigger. So let's create a new script and call it, I don't know, trigger color. Yeah. And you probably guessed that this script will change the color when I enter the cube. So this is something we've already tried a little bit. Now, so instead of using the update function, because this is something called once per frame, we will use a function which is called on the signal when you enter the cube, when you enter the trigger. And that, again, has a special name. So we can delete this function because we will not need it. And instead, we create our own function, declare it as void function. That is a function that doesn't return anything. And the name of the function should be on trigger enter. Again, it's important to get the capital O, T, and E, right? And this on trigger enter function takes one argument, which we will not use now at the beginning. And it's of a type of collider. So here you put collider, and you put some name collider with, so collider, the type name has to have a capital C, and the second, the collider, the variable name is just like all lowercase. We put in the angle brackets, and on enter the collider, we will change the color of our cube. So that's something we've already did before. So we get component render, and we get its material and the color of the material, and set it to some other color. So let's say color, not trigger color. I don't know. Green was already. Let's try blue. Oh, that one is gray. So yeah. So with this simple script, which has this onTrigger enter event, and with the parameters collider, parameter of type collider, which is called collider, and it reads the component called renderer of the type renderer, and gets the material of the renderer and sets its color to blue. And this function will be called when we enter the trigger collider. So I save it, go back here. Hopefully it will compile without issues. Now if I hit play.
But we should also apply it to the cube.
Good one. Yes, thank you. Sorry. Yes, of course. I created a script and now I have to put the script on the cube. So I select the new cube, which should be the trigger cube. This one has a collider, which is marked as a trigger, and I need to add the script here. Save the scene and run it. And now if I walk into the cube, it will change color to blue. But you can also see it doesn't change back, because I never told it that it should change back. So if I want to change the color back as well, then I will need to use another signal. And that signal is called onTrigger exit. So I go onTrigger exit. Again, the same parameters, collider, could be called collider again. And onTrigger exit, I will just copy paste this line and change the color to something else. So let's go for yellow. Now, when I enter the collider, the box will change to blue, and when I exit the collider, it will change to yellow. So the same, almost the same function. You can actually just copy paste the whole thing, just change enter to exit and the color to something else. Oh, now it's blue. You can see it in, now it's yellow. And when I enter again, it turns blue. I cannot see it because I'm inside, and that's, but you can see it in the scene window, yeah, that it really changed color. Okay, now we managed to get a trigger, a place where if we enter the trigger, something will happen with the trigger itself. It might be more useful if we can enter the trigger and change something else. So we have this rotating cube somewhere, so I will Maybe I will just again go to the plane object and disable the mesh render. So we are in this like free space, and we'll change the script so that it can connect the triggering object to some other object. So now I think the programmers will enjoy this very much again. I've said before that everything in Unity is a game object. Yeah? So everything which is not your own script, basically, or everything which is not a script, everything you can put here is a game object. And what the game object is doing is defined by its components. Yeah. So here we have an object which has this renderer, sphere collider, etc., and so our custom script. And you've seen that in our scripts we can use parameters. Yeah. Here the parameters were just numbers, but what if we could take a game object as a parameter? So we can create a parameter here, public game object, and call it something. It's better not to call it object. Just try some other word, like something. So now we have something. And now we will want to change the color, not of the trigger itself, but of this something. And for that, we just change the context in which we are calling this get component function. So instead of calling the get component function on the same object here, which is just implied, we call it on the something object. So we do something dot, and the rest is the same. So now it gets the something object, and with the something object, it calls the get component function. So it actually retrieves the renderer of the something object and changes its color to blue. And we do the same here onto the exit. And when we go back to the scene, with everything compiled, we open the cube object, the trigger cube, and we see that here there's a place for something, and that something should be a game object. And we just choose one of our game objects and drag it here. One of those which are in the sample scene. So let's say we take the
like small side question.
Yeah.
So you are expected to do that only through Unity itself. You can't code it. You can't code it like here is this script. It changes this object. It can be done only through Unity. Like you link the objects only in the Unity.
So the script always knows just its own context. So it's like this implicit this.
Okay.
So you attach the script to an object.
Yeah,
and that script belongs to the
also,
object,
like
and
object.
it doesn't know about the objects around. What it can do is to look at its parent object, and there's always some parent object. The top parent object is the scene. So it can go back to the top, to the scene, and then look for an object by name, for example. So you can programmatically find an object which is called a sphere, for example, or like the yellow cube, and get that from the script instead of doing through the Unity editor. Okay. It's possible.
I have a question. With this something, I have an error saying that something doesn't exist in the current context. Maybe I haven't put something.
Did you?
Yeah, public. Yes, this one. Can you give me a sec? Yeah, thank you very much.
You have it there?
No, I haven't. So it just was too fast for me, and I skipped this.
And
so yeah, I'll fix it. Thank you.
Okay. So public game object something. And so here we take, for example, this sphere and drag it here to this something field. And now if I hit play, so at the beginning, oh, sorry, my sphere is too fast. I will just slow down my sphere like this. And so back to the, so I have this sphere in my, inside my trigger object. I hit play. And so now we see the sphere is red. And if I enter the trigger, the sphere turns blue. And then when I go out, it turns yellow. Yeah. And now, of course, this can be mapped to any other property. So, for example, we can take one of the rotating cubes, and we will want to change the rotation speed. Huh? And the rotation speed is defined in our own script. So we can also manipulate our own scripts, and we can manipulate the public fields of our own scripts. So let's say we go back to one of the cubes, for example, the blue cube, and found the script. In my case, it will be the move object script, which defined the rotating speed of the cube. So I want to find a class which is called move object. That was this name, the move object script. And I will keep the color change. So I will work with the script called trigger color. And I will add another object, public game object, I don't know, something else. And I take something else. And from something else, I want to get a component of a type move object, because that's the name of my script. So if the name of your script is different, then of course you need to put the name of your script. And here in the script called moved object, I had a public variable called rotation speed. So this is what I will be modifying. So let's say in get component move object, rotation speed. Yeah. Rotation speed equals something. And what we can do, for example, we will make the speed 3 times higher when we enter the trigger. So I copy paste this, and this will equal 3 times the original rotation speed. And I do this again. I copy paste the whole line. And on trigger exit, and on exit, I will divide by 3. Division is done by just by the forward slash. So now on trigger enter, I have 3 times the rotation speed, and on trigger exit, I'm dividing the rotation speed by 3. Again, to get here, I need to get the move object the move object class, which is connected to my object, and the variable I am modifying has to be defined as a public variable in the class that I am getting. Yeah. And another thing, I will show it now. So now we've modified the script, and if I open the trigger cube, then it waits for a game object to be here as something else. Now, I've said that we'll be looking for a class of move object, yeah? This one, move object. What happens if instead I put a script that just says fly away, or if I put in an object that doesn't have the move object script, yeah? Because I can do that and nothing will prevent doing that in this case. So I hit play now. New thing, still nothing happens. But when I enter the trigger, I will get an error. You see that here, I got null reference expression, object reference not set to an instance of object. This is a very typical error. You will see it quite often, and this is one of the possible causes, because I've sent an object, a game object, and I was in the script I was expecting to find a component called moved object, but the component was not there. And that's what the error is telling me, that the reference is not set to an instance of an object. That's what it means, that it cannot find the object it was supposed to find. So let's give it something it can find, something that exists and has the correct object. That was the blue cube, I think. And try again. Now, of course, the blue cube had the script which turned it green at the beginning, so now it's green. And if we enter, it spins fast. And of course, with this, you can do multiple combinations. You can connect different objects, change their other properties of these objects. And of course, you can have many triggers doing different things in the scene. You don't necessarily need to keep the mesh render for the trigger. So, for example, I can make a top-down view here. Take the cube, make it larger. So if I pass through here, it will trigger, and I can remove the mesh renderer. So now I cannot see it, but there's this active space in the scene defined by the box collider, which now will be invisible. And if I walk through that box collider, things will happen. So I would say this is one of the easiest way to implement interaction, that you're interacting with some specific place. Yeah? So now tell me if everyone managed to get there, or if you have any problems on the way.
Unfortunately, I got lost at the very beginning of this thing, and I will repeat it very, very slowly in video when we will finish this lesson. Okay.
I mean, next time, tell me early that you're stuck. But
I think that it's hard to no, from Zoom. It was easier to follow you yesterday from the office, from the hall, and but from Zoom it's harder because I have a lot of windows. I have Zoom. I have
Yes, I realized that. I was afraid that this will pose a problem.
Yeah, hard. And when you make some move, it may be very easy move, but I need 3 or 5 or 10 times more time for this move, and then you go further, and I see that that I lost in the third or fourth mode. So it's my impression from Zoom point of view.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe we can then do it that maybe recommend to the people who are connecting online to watch this on the phone. To watch, yeah, and
yeah. I mean, it will be small, but at least some general.
Yeah, but firstly, I joined to Zoom via tablet, and then I had to show something from laptop, and
the sharing. And isn't it possible to
maybe the solution is to be slower, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, same feedback from me is that today I just needed some more time to reproduce, and it's not when you're doing something for the first time in your life, it's you need some time. But the story goes further, and you're doing one thing and you're successful with it, but you already missed some new information and several next steps ahead of you. So, and I have all the scripts, but I just don't know how to make this cube that is changing the color, to make it, how to trigger. I have the trigger in place, I have the scripts, but just it's still gray for me, right? So I'm not doing something in the game or whatever, just to follow those simple steps.
Yeah, okay. I mean, like, can you show me your screen? I think that this will be sure. Quick to solve.
Yeah, but I cannot. Can you give me the permissions or whatever?
Yeah, just a second. Yeah.
So you should be able to see it now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is cube 2. This is Samsung cube 1, cube and cube 1. We have this,
yes.
We have properly compiled script which looks like this.
Yes. Okay.
And then so I just want to play the game, yeah, and to see that it's changing color. So and from this moment in the game, what should I do for triggering that to happen? That was my question. Like, how should I interact with the game?
So okay. Click in the game window.
Just click with mouse.
Yes. Now you've lost the mouse. That's okay. Now you should be able to move around using the keys A, S, D, and W.
Okay, I'm moving with them. Yeah.
Yeah, and you will not reach the trigger because it's too high.
Okay.
So now, if you escape the game mode, so hit escape and then stop.
Yeah, stop.
Yes, and now open the scene editor again. And here, I mean, you can see a little bit from the shadows that the plane is quite low. Yeah. And so what happens at the beginning is that your player falls down to the plane. And so the best way would be on the in the scene window on the right top right side, there's this little box with those green right below it.
This one.
Yeah. So if you click one of those colored yeah, okay, one thing that was a good one as well. If you click on the box itself in the middle, it will change between the perspective view and the I don't know how it's called, but the one where
so now it's 2D.
doesn't
Yeah,
respect
it's 2D.
perspective. I mean, to try clicking the cube in the middle again, just to see the change. So sorry. I mean the little cube in the yes, this one. Yeah. Yeah, orthogonal or perspective view.
Yeah.
So sometimes the orthogonal is better because because objects that are further away are not smaller. But now here you need to move the plane up. So in the hierarchy, yeah. But now you are in the scale mode, yeah. So on the left side, no. You're scaling the plane and not moving it. So you need to switch first. First, you need to switch to the move mode, which is yes here, and it's the second one.
This one.
The second icon, yes. And now if you take yeah. And now the plane is maybe too high. So yeah.
How can I turn back to this like 3D view? I'm not sure what's going on here.
Yeah, you can rotate with yeah. Right mouse button, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
You press the right mouse button anywhere on the scene and
move your mouse.
Like this. Okay.
Yeah. And now I think you see the plane is too high. It's above the player. So yes. And you can use the mouse wheel to zoom out so that you can see the plane better. Yeah. And now select the plane again.
Is it selectable at all?
You can select it in the left.
Yeah, right.
In hierarchy. Yeah.
So I have
it. Oh, you know what? It's really huge. Just delete it and make a new one. So sometimes that's the fastest option.
Yeah. So create 3D.
Create a plane. Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah. Now if you double click, oh, this will move it too far away. Delete it again.
Say it again.
Delete the plane again and create it again, because now you were too far. No, delete the plane and I will show you how to get quickly to where you need to be.
Okay.
So
it's deleted.
Create a plane now. It's okay. Now create a plane. The object plane. And now in this in the hierarchy window on the left, double click the plane. Double click it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and double clicking will zoom onto the scale of the plane as well. And then it's easier to get now go a little further away so we can see the whole scene at the same time. Yes. And now click one of those on the top right, one of those arrows that will orient the scene along some axis. So Z or X would work nice.
Like this?
Yes. And now you see how high the plane is, and it's pretty okay, I would say. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
so let's see.
So I think now if you go to play mode, you shouldn't fall too much. Yeah. And now if you enter the trigger cube.
How to enter the trigger cube?
Again, move with W is to go forward.
But there is yellow cube flying around.
Yeah, and just enter the cube a little to the right. So use the D button.
Yeah.
And W again to get more.
But I'm not getting into this.
There's something pushing around the yellow cube. Yeah. Okay. But still, what should have happened? What was your trigger setting?
Let's have a look. So
okay,
something is cube one.
So cube one should have changed color, right? And
no, cube, yeah, cube one should change it, and something else is something else.
You're not on the trigger anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, this cube two. Cube is something else is cube one.
Okay. So now go back to the scene editor. And
so this green cube is something.
Yes.
And this one is something else.
Okay. So now click on the y-axis in the scene editor. Yes. And scroll with the mouse wheels so that you a little bit further away, and we'll just move the things around so that it so click the trigger. The best would be to put the blue cube and the yellow cube at the very edge of the play scene, and hold it, and don't click the middle of the cube, but click the red arrow.
Okay.
Yeah. And now move it to the left.
Like this.
Yeah, it will only move to the left. Yes, exactly. All the way to the left. That's okay. And do the same with the yellow cube again through the red one to the left. Yeah. And now if you get the trigger cube, catch it by the blue one this time, not the red one. No. I mean get the trigger cube. Zoom further away again with the mouse with the mouse wheel.
Like
Yeah. And now click the trigger cube, the gray cube.
Not the gray, yeah.
Yes, and on the blue arrow. Yeah, and move it down in front of the player. Yes. That's perfect.
That's good. Yeah.
And now click on the x-axis. Yes. And now select the yellow cube. And with the green arrow, move it a little bit higher so that you can see it better. Yes. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. And now hit play. I think it should work. Yeah.
So forwarding.
Yeah, now click in this game window. Yes. And now with your mouse, you should be able to look around like completely. Yeah. So you see, so you see the yellow cube, and now enter the trigger point with the yes. And now turn around with the mouse. So that you see the yellow cube. A little bit up to the left. Yeah, and now if you exit the trigger point.
Exiting with escape or what?
No. Just go back with S. But still look at keep looking at the yellow cube. Yeah. And go back with S. Let's press S. Okay. Okay, stop the scene. Okay, go with escape and stop the scene. This is weird. Well, that should work.
I think it's changed the color to yellow, but then when she didn't, maybe it changed it on the entrance, but on the exit.
Yeah. Okay. Can you open the script again, please?
Yes, sure.
And yeah, No, because the second one should rotation speed, rotation. It should change the rotation speed. So and the color should go. Can you change the colors to black and white? Yes. Because those aren't used, so we should see them quickly. Yeah, okay. And go there again. Just walk into the trigger. Yeah. Okay, so this one is the one that changes color. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you walk into the trigger again with the S key, you will go back, but slowly so that you don't fall down the plane. Yeah. More, a little bit more. Now turn around with the mouse to find, and walk into the trigger object again. Click the mouse in the game window because otherwise, Now with W and navigate to the inside the trigger object. Yes, a little bit of yes. Now just turn with the mouse and look at the
so it works.
and it's back.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay. And so the one rotating, maybe it's the one that's just like flying so super fast at the top. So maybe that's why we didn't notice that its rotation speed changed. So maybe one of those. I mean, I think you can already experiment with this one, right?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah, the hardest thing was to put things nicely here. Yeah, on the scene.
Oh yes, of course. I mean that's usually you spend some time designing the scene, and if you're actually programming a AAA style game, you have like I mean, for example, this my favorite virtual reality game called Half-Life Alyx by Valve, and it's I would say still the best virtual reality game ever created. I only played it once till the end because I don't have much time to play games anymore. But and it was during COVID. During COVID, I had time to play games, and at the end of the game, you get credits, like at the end of the movie, and there's several hundred people who've been working on that game, and you have credits for each of the levels made in the game. And like one level can have like 50, 70 people who are just doing the design of the level, placing the things, creating the objects, etc. So this can be a lot of hard work, but you know the basics already. So now it's just about what you want to do with that and where you want to spend the time. And now, of course, during our workshop, we will not continue with boxes and spheres and things like that. Those were used just in this first part because they're easy to see and it's easy to understand what's happening with them. It's easy to see them rotate, etc. And they're, of course, easy to create. You just right-click in the scene window and click create a new box, and you have a new box there. But what will we do is we will use the concepts of triggers, for example, for interaction, and the idea of using those public game object variables to connect different objects in the scene and influence different parameters of these objects. And our objects will not be those boxes and spheres anymore, but our objects will be special effects created from our own data. And our own data will be, for the scientific part, it will be some data. If you have some data, if you don't have data, I will give you some data. And for the artistic part, the data source will be a 3D scan made with an app on your phone. So for the artistic part, I would like people to find their favorite object. It can be something small, like a mouse, this size. It can be something bigger, like a statue, or even a person, if the person can hold still for a couple of minutes. Or like I said, a statue or something. It can be something really large. You can take a picture of a whole building, but then you will need to walk around the whole building, so it will take some time. Or it can be an interior. You can take a picture of your own apartment, for example. I didn't do that because my apartment wasn't clean enough for a representative picture. But all the other types I made and tried, and I will try to provide some guidance on how to do this nicely. So I would like everyone who's attending the art workshop, or anyone who's interested in getting their 3D models into Unity, or like just getting 3D models of something on your phone and then doing something with them, maybe even in some different 3D software. Just tell me in the Telegram group, and I will try to assist you. And just quickly, I will show the interface of the software we will be using. It's called Polycam, and it's accessible on poly.cam. And you can see that it already logged me in. Told me I have finished some capture processing. The capture processing process itself is very simple. You install the app, you take out your phone, found the object, and you take pictures of the object from all the different angles. Like, I mean, a lot of pictures, like 50 pictures, 100 pictures. It also has a mode when it's like you're shooting a video and walking around your object, and it will automatically try to find the best time to take the picture. And like I've said, I've tried different objects. So this is, for example, the Motanka doll I got. This one is about 20 centimeters high. And you can see that it's a full 3D model. It doesn't have the insides, but it's just like from the outside. And it's actually quite detailed. You can see the structure of the fabric. And this model then we can import into Unity and work with it somehow through the visual effects and through the other tools we've seen. You can also take a picture of something large. So this is the building of the National Museum in Prague. And I did this in the night, actually. So I was kind of surprised that the lightning was... Yeah, it's kind of difficult to navigate in this specific app. But I was kind of surprised that even with the low lightning, it turned out pretty well. Of course, I couldn't see on the roof because I was just like walking around the building. But some of the details, again, are pretty good. Some of them are not that good. And for some mid-sized stuff, again, this is something in Germany near my place. Again, it's large, several meters high. It's a monument to the victims of the Second World War, of the victims of Nazism specifically. And again, I couldn't see the top part, so it just like invented something to put on the top. And for something, again, a thing I took at home, just a blow fan I had there, you can see that it didn't turn out quite well, yeah? Because there were those transparent parts, this mesh, and somehow it couldn't understand this fine detailed mesh, and just didn't put the whole fan in as the way I want it. I've also tried to take this picture that I was on Sunday when we went to see the Kiev Lavra and walk around this piece of old wall, and even together with the sign and the writing on the sign, it's still like pretty good detail, I would say. And this took, again, I don't know, I walked around 3 times, I think, or 4 times maybe, to get all the details, like from the inside, etc. You can see the shadows, so you could probably also deduce the time we were there from the size of the shadow, should you want to. And this was the last one I took. This is some piece of some Russian crap, and you can see that the model is pretty detailed, with those tubes and lines, and yeah, you can even see the insides. Of course, if you want to see the insides, you have to move your phone a lot, like inside the thing, so you take the pictures really from all those different angles. But as I said, you can see it's pretty detailed, but not perfect. So sometimes you see that things that should have been straight are really not straight. Sometimes those tubes that should be disconnected are like somehow fused together, and that's not in the original thing. In that case, it could have been very easily. And so yeah, that's something like about 3 meters long, and so you can try different sizes, different ideas, and you can do more of them, of course, and then we can import more of these different objects in the scene. So just let me know who wants to try it, who wants to prepare it. Let us know in the Telegram group, and we will do it together. That's one part. That's for the artistic part, and for the scientific part, very similar instructions. If you want to use your own data, or even if you feel that maybe not at this time, but at some point you would want to, so just if you have some example of your data that you can show me, again, tell me in the Telegram group, and I will have a look today, because we continue tomorrow in the after.
Time as well. I need to check.
I think
I remember the
schedule. The scientific part, and
scientific art starts at 10.
Yeah, scientific at 10 and artistic.
3 hours.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So just let me know today, and I can help you with looking at the data or making those 3D scans. One important thing about the app is that if you use the free version, you are limited to 7 scans. So use them sparingly and use them wisely, and ask me beforehand for tips on scanning the object of your choice, because yeah, you want to get as much of this app as possible. The pro version isn't too expensive, but if it's just for the workshop and just for some occasional experiment, it's probably not worth it. But yeah, with the free version, you have seven scans, and yeah, that's it. So if you have any questions, comments,
maybe like a comment. With this Telegram communication, maybe if several people are doing the same, maybe it makes sense to do it in chat, so that different people won't ask the same question and know the answer from the others. Maybe just shall we use our our chats for that, or groups?
Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I will try to write there then instead of Zoom chat for the future meetings.
Yeah. Okay. So, no more questions? Okay, then I'm happy to have seen you again today, and I'll see you again tomorrow. And have a nice day, and see you. Goodbye.
Have a good day. Bye.
Goodbye.